Hi and welcome, I am Helle. Today I will explain the rules for Fischen or fishing. This is a game for 3 to 5 players. It takes about 40 minutes to play and is for the ages 8+. And this game is a trick-taking game where you need to get a lot of tricks to score you points. The game is played over 8 rounds. And to start with, you're going to take the card for the number of players you are. So you have the number of cards you're going to gain in each round. So first round, second round, and so on. So this is for 5 players, 4 players, and then for 3 players. And I will explain it for 3 players. So if you are 3 players, you're going to take this card. And in the first round, you're going to deal 10 cards to each player. Place this card and take this card here for the current round and place it up here so you can see you are at round 1 and you're going to gain 10 cards. For the second round, you're going to flip it down and then you can see how many cards you're going to gain for that round. And you are going to play 8 rounds. After each round, each player is going to score points depending on how many tricks they have taken, how many cards they have in their fishing net. So each player, they're going to gain a fishing net and a fishing boat. And when you get tricks, you're going to place your tricks in your fishing net. In this game, you have 2 decks of cards. You have a deck with the values 1 to 10 in 4 colors. And then you have a special deck where you have star 5. You have 4, 3, 2, and 1. You're going to sort them in the stars and shuffle each of them. So first you're going to, in the bottom, you're going to have the 5 stars, then the 4 stars, the 3 stars, the 2, and then the 1. So this is going to form your common draw deck. And for the normal cards, when you play with 3 players, you're going to remove all the number 1s, 2s, and then the blue and red number 3. These you can put back into the box when you are 3 players. If you are 4 players, then you're going to remove all the number 1s back to the box. And if you are 5 players, you're going to play with all of the cards. Then you're going to shuffle this normal deck and you're going to deal that many cards, and each player, they will look at their cards and they can sort their cards however they want to. You have to determine a start player, and the start player is going to start with playing a card. All other players, they have to play a card. If they have this color to the hand, they have to follow suit. So all players, they have to follow suit and play a card down. Then the player that played the highest card wins the trick, unless you have a trump, but you do not have a trump in the first round. And the player that won the trick, they will place the trick in their fishing net, and they are now the new start player. They will then get to play a card. And players, they have to follow suit if they can. And the player with the highest number will again win the trick and place it in their fishing net. And when all cards they have been played, then players, they're going to count how many cards they have in their fishing net. And this player had caught 15 cards. So they're going to get 15 points. So you're going to mark down on a paper. You're going to mark 15 points for this player. Then the player is going to shuffle the cards and they're going to place them on their boat. This player had 9 cards. So they will get 9 points for this round. They will shuffle their cards and place them on their boat. And the same with this player, they had 6 cards, so they will shuffle their cards and place them on their boat. And then you will advance this one to the second round. So here you are also going to gain 10 cards. Each player, they will draw 10 cards from their boat. So this is a deck building game where you're going to build your deck from the tricks you have taken. So the players, they're going to draft from their boat 10 cards. Now this one has 9 cards, so they will get all of the cards to their hand, but they do lack 1 card. And this player had 6 cards, so they need 4 more cards. Now the players that didn't have enough cards, starting with the player that needs the most cards, are going to draw from this deck. And this is the deck with the more powerful cards. You have even higher numbers. You're going to have trumps. You're going to have some special cards, which we're going to look at in a moment. But this player here would draw 4 cards, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this player would draw 1 card from this deck. And the next round will be started by the player with the fewest points. Players, they will play in the same way, but something special have been added. Now there might be a trump added to the game. So this player, now they got a 0, for example. And this player here, they got a trump, and they got 2 number 11, and they got a 0 card. So let's have a look at the special cards. Let's first take a look at the 0 card. So if this player had played a 5, then this one had played a 10, and this player had played a 0. At the end of this trick, this player gets to take a card. They get to catch a card. So they can grab one of the cards that have been played. So they might grab this card and place it in their fishing net. And after that, then the player that won the trick can get the rest of the cards. But now they only get 2 cards instead of 3 cards, because the player with this card gets to grab a card before the player that won the trick gets to take the cards. So this one had already caught a little fishy, and then this player would catch these 2. If you have this situation where you have a player that played the red card, then one played a 0 card, and this player maybe also played a 0 card because they didn't have any red cards to their hand. The first player that played, you are going to take the turn order. This player gets to grab first, so they could grab either this card or this card, so they might grab the 10. And then this player, they can only grab this card. And the player that won the trick, they would get this card. If a color have been played and you do not have the color to your hand, then you can play any card. You can also play a trump card. So if you play a trump card, this is the green card with a fish. That is a new card that is introduced with this deck. Then this is going to beat the color. A trump is always higher than a color, but you can only place it down if you can't follow suit. So if this player plays the trump, then they are going to win this trick. And they can add this to their fishing net. And then we have 6 special cards with no color. You don't have to follow suit. If you have this card, you can play it even though you have a color that have been played. Then you are always allowed to play this. So I kind of say it's like a multicolored card. You can play it on any color. And there are 2 kinds. There are these 3 that are triggered at the end of a round. At the end of a round where a trick has been played. And these, they trigger for the next trick. So if you play any of these as the last card in a round, then they won't trigger. Then none of these will trigger. With this card here, then at the end of the round, you get to pass 1 card to the left. So all players, they get to pass one of their cards to the player to the left. And if you play this as the last one, then it won't take any effect, like with these cards. With this one, the player that gets the trick with this one, they will immediately gain -3 points. You will still get a point for the card for having it in your fishing net, but when you get the card, when you catch it, you're going to gain -3 points. When this card is played in a trick, then you get to grab all the other cards. So the person that is going to win the trick, they're only going to get this card. If you have a trick where you would also have a 0 played out, so if these cards have been played, so then this one is going to grab these 2 cards, and you're going to take it in turn order. So if this was played before this one, then this player would grab these 2 cards, and the one that played the 0 is going to grab this card. So this means that the player that won the trick wouldn't get anything. If it had been played in this order, then this player could grab this card or this card. They might grab this card, and the player that had grabbed this one would grab these 2 cards. And with this card here, you get to determine the color of the next trick being played. So for the next round's trick, so the player that is going to be the start player that won the trick, they have to follow the color that you say. If they do not have that color to their hand, they can play any other card, but the next player have to play the color that you mentioned. And if you played this card in the round, then you get to be the first player in the next round. So the player that won the trick is not going to be the start player, you are going to be the start player. And if you played this one, then for the next trick, then the player with the lowest number is going to win. So instead of the highest card, then it's the lowest numbered card that is going to win the trick. But with these 4 cards, if you play it as the last card in the round, then they won't take any effect. And then after the next round, players there again will score points for the tricks they have taken. This time this player would only get 3. Then they are going to shuffle their deck, and they're going to, if you have cards already on your board, you're going to place them underneath your cards. And then you will draw from this deck. These players would shuffle their cards and place them on their board. And then you would go to the first round, and this time you are going to get 11 cards. And players, they're going to draw cards. If you do not have enough, you're going to draw from this deck where you're going to get even more powerful cards and also cards that have the special abilities. And you're going to keep on playing until you have played 8 rounds. And then after you have played 8 rounds, you're going to sum up all of your points, and the player that gets the most points is going to be the winner of the game. And if you have more players that have the same amount of points, then they will share victory.